नमस्ते ऑस्ट्रेलिया। ऑस्ट्रेलिया के प्रधानमंत्री और मेरे प्रिय मित्र हिज एक्सेलेंसी अल्बनीजी, ऑस्ट्रेलिया के पूर्व प्रधानमंत्री हिज एक्सेलेंसी स्कॉट मॉरिसन, first of all, I acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land that we are meeting here on today. I pay my respect to their elders, past, present, and emerging. I also celebrate all First Nations people who may be with us today. Friends, मैं जब 2014 में आया था तो आपसे एक वादा किया था। वादा ये था कि आपको फिर भारत के किसी प्रधानमंत्री का 28 साल तक इंतजार नहीं करना पड़ेगा। तो लीजिए, यहां सिडनी में इस ऐना में मैं फिर हाजिर हूं और मैं अकेला नहीं आया हूं। प्रधानमंत्री अल्बनीजी भी मेरे साथ आए हैं। मिस्टर प्राइम मिनिस्टर, अपने बहुत व्यस्त कार्यक्रम में से हम सभी के लिए आपने समय निकाला है। ये हम भारतीयों के प्रति आपके स्नेह को दर्शाता है। आपने जो अभी कहा वो दिखाता है कि ऑस्ट्रेलिया के मन में भारत के प्रति कितना प्रेम है। इसी वर्ष मुझे प्रधानमंत्री जी का भारत की धरती पर अहमदाबाद में स्वागत करने का अवसर मिला था। आज उन्होंने यहां लिटिल इंडिया के फाउंडेशन स्टोर को अनवील करने में मेरा साथ दिया है। मैं उनका बहुत बहुत आभार व्यक्त करता हूं। थैंक यू माय फ्रेंड एंथनी। ये लिटिल इंडिया ऑस्ट्रेलिया के विकास में भारतीय समुदाय के योगदान का भी एक रिकॉग्निशन है। मैं न्यू साउथ वेल्स के प्रीमियर, पैरामाटा शहर के मेयर, डिप्टी मेयर और काउंसिलर्स को इस विशेष सम्मान के लिए धन्यवाद देना चाहता हूं। साथियों, मुझे खुशी है कि न्यू साउथ वेल्स में प्रवासी भारतीय समुदाय से कई लोग सार्वजनिक जीवन में सक्रिय भागीदारी कर रहे हैं, अपनी पहचान बना रहे हैं। वर्तमान न्यू साउथ वेल्स की सरकार में डिप्टी प्रीमियर, प्रूकार, ट्रेजरर डेनियल मुखी बड़ा कंट्रीब्यूशन कर रहे हैं। और कल ही भाई समीर पांडे के लॉर्ड मेयर चुने गए हैं। मैं सबका अभिनंदन करता हूं, बहुत बहुत बधाई देता हूं। साथियों, एक समय था जब कहा जाता था कि भारत ऑस्ट्रेलिया के संबंधों को 3C डिफाइन करते हैं। ऐसा पहले कहा जाता था। ये कौन से 3C हैं? कॉमनवेल्थ, क्रिकेट और करी। इसके बाद कहा गया कि भारत ऑस्ट्रेलिया के संबंध 3D पर आधारित है। डेमोक्रेसी, डायस्पोरा और दोस्ती। कुछ लोगों ने यह भी कहा कि भारत ऑस्ट्रेलिया के संबंध 3E पर आधारित है। एनर्जी, इकोनॉमी और एजुकेशन। यानी कभी C, कभी D, कभी E। अलग अलग कालखंड में ये बात संभवतः सही भी रही है, लेकिन भारत और ऑस्ट्रेलिया के ऐतिहासिक संबंधों का विस्तार इससे कहीं ज्यादा बड़ा है। और जानते हैं, इन सारे संबंधों का सबसे बड़ा आधार क्या है? जानते हैं? जी नहीं, सबसे बड़ा आधार है म्यूचुअल ट्रस्ट और म्यूचुअल रिस्पेक्ट। ये म्यूचुअल ट्रस्ट और म्यूचुअल रिस्पेक्ट सिर्फ भारत ऑस्ट्रेलिया के डिप्लोमेटिक रिश्तों से विकसित नहीं हुआ है। इसकी असली वजह है, इसकी असली ताकत है आप ऑस्ट्रेलिया में रहने वाले हर एक भारतीय। आप उसकी असली ताकत है। हमारे यहां खाना बनाने का तरीका भले अलग अलग है, लेकिन अब मास्टर शेफ हमें जोड़ता है। हमारे यहां पर्व त्योहार भले अलग अलग मनाए जाते हैं, लेकिन हम जुड़े हुए हैं दिवाली की रौनक से, बैसाखी के जश्न से। हमारे यहां भाषाएं भले अलग अलग बोली जाती हो, लेकिन हम जुड़े हुए हैं मलयालम, तमिल, तेलुगु, पंजाबी, हिंदी भाषाएं पढ़ाने वाले इतने सारे स्कूलों से। साथियों, ऑस्ट्रेलिया के लोग, यहां के निवासी इतने विशाल हृदय के हैं, दिल के इतने अच्छे और सच्चे हैं कि भारत की इस विविधता को खुले दिल से स्वीकारते हैं। और यही वजह है कि पैरामाटा स्क्वायर किसी के लिए परमात्मा चौक बन जाता है। विक्रम स्ट्रीट भी विक्रम स्ट्रीट के रूप में मशहूर हो जाती है। हैरिस पार्क कई लोगों के लिए हरीश पार्क हो जाता है। वैसे मैंने सुना है कि हैरिस पार्क में चटका की चाट, जयपुर स्वीट्स की जलेबी, उसका तो कोई जवाब ही नहीं है। मेरी आप सबसे रिक्वेस्ट है, आप लोग कभी मेरे मित्र पीएम एल्बेनीज़ी को भी वहां जरूर ले जाइएगा। और साथियों, जब खाने की बात चली है और चाट की बात चली है, तो लखनऊ का नाम आना भी स्वाभाविक ही है। मैंने सुना है सिडनी के पास लखनऊ नाम की जगह भी है, लेकिन मुझे पता नहीं वहां भी चाट मिलती है क्या। अच्छा, यहां भी तो शायद दिल्ली के पास वाले लखनऊ के लोग होंगे ही होंगे, है क्या? वाह, वाकई दिल्ली स्ट्रीट, बॉम्बे स्ट्रीट, कश्मीर एवेन्यू, मालाबार एवेन्यू जैसी कितनी ही सड़कें यहां ऑस्ट्रेलिया में आपको भारत से जोड़े रखती है। मुझे बताया गया कि अब तो ग्रेटर सिडनी में इंडिया परेड भी शुरू होने जा रही है। मुझे जानकर भी बहुत अच्छा लगा कि हाँ, आप सबने आजादी का अमृत महोत्सव भी बहुत धूमधाम से मनाया है। यहां की कई सारी सिटी काउंसिल में बहुत सारे कार्यक्रम किए गए हैं। सिडनी ओपेरा हाउस जब तिरंगे की रोशनी से सराबोर हुआ तो यहां हर भारतीय का दिल खुश हो गया। आज दुनिया की सबसे बड़ी और सबसे युवा टैलेंट फैक्ट्री जिस देश में है वो है सही जवाब दे रहे हैं आप, वो है इंडिया। मैं ये बात फिर दोहरा रहा हूं, आज दुनिया की सबसे बड़ी और सबसे युवा टैलेंट फैक्ट्री जिस देश में है वो है और अब मैं आपके सामने ऐसे ही कुछ फैक्ट रखूंगा और आपसे सही उत्तर जानना चाहूंगा, ठीक है? रेडी? कोरोना की इस ग्लोबल पैंडेमिक में जिस देश ने दुनिया का सबसे तेज वैक्सीनेशन प्रोग्राम चलाया, वो देश है आज जो देश दुनिया की फास्टेस्ट ग्रोइंग लार्ज इकोनॉमी है वो है आज जो देश दुनिया में नंबर 1 स्मार्टफोन डेटा कंज्यूमर है वो देश है आज जो देश फिनटेक एडॉप्शन रेट में नंबर 1 है वो देश है आज जो देश मिल्क प्रोडक्शन के मामले में दुनिया में नंबर 1 है। वो देश है, वो देश है। आज जो देश इंटरनेट यूजर्स की संख्या में दुनिया में नंबर 2 पर है, वो है आज जो देश दुनिया का सेकंड लार्जेस्ट मोबाइल मैन्युफैक्चरर है, वो देश है। आज जो देश राइस, व्हीट, शुगर केन प्रोडक्शन के मामले में दुनिया में नंबर 2 पर है, वो है आज जो देश फ्रूट और वेजिटेबल प्रोडक्शन में दुनिया में नंबर 2 पर है, वो है आज जिस देश में दुनिया का तीसरा सबसे बड़ा स्टार्टअप इकोसिस्टम है, वो है दुनिया का तीसरा सबसे बड़ा ऑटोमोबाइल मार्केट जिस देश में है, वो देश है दुनिया का तीसरा सबसे बड़ा सिविल एविएशन मार्केट जिस देश में है, वो देश है। और अब जो देश अगले 25 साल में विकसित होने के लक्ष्य के साथ आगे बढ़ रहा है, वो देश है। साथियों, आज IMF भारत को ग्लोबल इकोनॉमी का ब्राइट स्पॉट मानता है। वर्ल्ड बैंक का विश्वास है कि ग्लोबल हेडविंड्स को अगर कोई चुनौती दे रहा है तो वो भारत है। आज दुनिया के कई देशों में बैंकिंग सिस्टम पर संकट है, लेकिन दूसरी तरफ भारत के बैंकों की मजबूती की आज चारों तरफ प्रशंसा हो रही है। दुनिया में 100 साल में आए सबसे बड़े संकट के बीच भारत ने बीते वर्ष रिकॉर्ड एक्सपोर्ट किया है। आज हमारा फॉरेक्स रिजर्व नई बुलंदियां छू रहा है। आपको गर्व होगा कि पिछले 9 वर्ष में हमने करीब 50 करोड़ भारतीयों के यानी करीब 500 मिलियन बैंक अकाउंट खोले हैं। और सिर्फ बैंक अकाउंट खोलना ही हमारी सफलता, हम वहां अटकते नहीं है। इसने भारत में पब्लिक सर्विस डिलीवरी के पूरे इकोसिस्टम को ट्रांसफॉर्म कर दिया है। हमने जनधन बैंक अकाउंट, मोबाइल फोन और आधार आईडी की एक जैम ट्रिनिटी, JAM ट्रिनिटी बनाई है। आप सोचिए, इसे एक क्लिक पर करोड़ों देशवासियों तक डायरेक्ट बेनिफिट ट्रांसफर DBT संभव हुआ है। और आपको और खुशी होगी, बीते 9 वर्षों में, यह आंकड़ा भी आपको बहुत आनंद देगा, बीते 9 वर्षों में 28 लाख करोड़ रुपए यानी 500 बिलियन ऑस्ट्रेलियन डॉलर से भी ज्यादा सीधे जरूरतमंदों के बैंक अकाउंट में भेजे गए हैं। कोरोना के समय में बहुत से देशों को अपने नागरिकों को पैसे भेजने में मुश्किल आई थी, लेकिन भारत उन देशों में था जो एक क्लिक पर ये काम पलकों में कर रहा था। यूनिवर्सल पब्लिक इंटरफेस यानी यूपीआई ने भारत में फाइनेंशियल इंक्लूजन को नई ऊंचाई पर पहुंचा दिया है। आज दुनिया के 40% रियल टाइम डिजिटल पेमेंट्स अकेले भारत में होते हैं। आप अभी भारत आए होंगे तो देखा होगा, आज फल सब्जी या पानी पूरी के ठेले हो या फिर चाय की दुकान, सब जगह डिजिटल ट्रांजैक्शन हो रहा है। साथियों, भारत का ये डिजिटल रिवॉल्यूशन सिर्फ फिनटेक तक सीमित नहीं है। भारत आधुनिक व्यवस्थाएं बना रहा है, लोगों की ईज ऑफ लिविंग बढ़ा रहा है। साथियों, आज भारत के हर कदम, हर उपलब्धियों के बारे में दुनिया जानना चाहती है। आज की दुनिया जिस वर्ल्ड ऑर्डर की तरफ जा रही है, जिन संभावनाओं को तलाश रही है, उसमें ये स्वाभाविक भी है। भारत हजारों वर्षों की जीवंत सभ्यता है। भारत मदर ऑफ डेमोक्रेसी है। हमने समय के अनुसार खुद को ढाला है, लेकिन अपने मूल सिद्धांतों पर, फंडामेंटल्स पर हमेशा टिके रहे हैं। हम राष्ट्र को भी एक परिवार के रूप में देखते हैं और विश्व को भी एक परिवार मानते हैं। वसुधैव कुटुंबकम। और इसलिए जब भारत अपनी G20 प्रेसिडेंसी की थीम तय करता है तो कहता है, अपने आदर्शों को जीने का उसका स्वभाव देखिए। G20 प्रेसिडेंसी में भारत कहता है, वन अर्थ, वन फैमिली, वन फ्यूचर। जब भारत पर्यावरण की रक्षा के लिए सोलर एनर्जी के बड़े लक्ष्य तय करता है तो कहता है, वन सन, वन वर्ल्ड, वन ग्रिड। जब भारत वैश्विक समुदाय के स्वस्थ रहने की कामना करता है तो कहता है, वन अर्थ, वन हेल्थ। भारत वो देश है जिसने कोरोना के संकट में दुनिया के 150 से ज्यादा देशों को उस संकट की घड़ी में दवाइयां भेजी। भारत वो देश है जिसने 100 से अधिक देशों को मुफ्त वैक्सीन भेजकर करोड़ों करोड़ों लोगों का जीवन बचाया। आज भारत और ऑस्ट्रेलिया के बीच कई डायरेक्ट फ्लाइट्स हैं। बीते वर्षों में फ्लाइट्स की संख्या बढ़ी है। आने वाले दिनों में इनकी संख्या और बढ़ेगी। एक दूसरे की डिग्रियों को मान्यता देने को लेकर भी दोनों देश आगे बढ़े हैं और इससे हमारे स्टूडेंट्स को बहुत लाभ होगा। माइग्रेशन एंड मोबिलिटी पार्टनरशिप एग्रीमेंट पर भी सहमति बनी है। इससे हमारे स्किल्ड प्रोफेशनल्स के लिए ऑस्ट्रेलिया आना और यहां काम करना आसान होगा। और साथियों, आज जब मैं आपके बीच आया हूं तो एक घोषणा भी करने जा रहा हूं। ब्रिस्बेन में भारतीय समुदाय की बहुत समय से जो मांग थी, अब उसे पूरा किया जाएगा। जल्द ही ब्रिस्बेन में भारत का एक नया काउंसलेट खोला जाएगा। फ्रेंड्स, भारत और ऑस्ट्रेलिया की गहरी होती पार्टनरशिप मां भारती में आस्था रखने वाले प्रत्येक व्यक्ति को सशक्त करेगी। आपके पास टैलेंट है, अपनी स्किल की ताकत है और साथ ही अपने कल्चरल वैल्यूज भी है। ये वैल्यूज आपको ऑस्ट्रेलिया के लोगों के साथ घुल मिलकर रहने में बड़ी भूमिका निभाते हैं। मैं कल ही पापुआ न्यू गिनी से आया हूं। वहां मैंने स्थानीय भाषा में तमिल साहित्य तिरुकुरल के अनुवाद का लोकार्पण किया। यह अनुवाद वहां भारतीय मूल के एक स्थानीय गवर्नर ने किया है। एक जीता जागता उदाहरण है कि कैसे हम विदेश में रहते हुए भी अपनी जड़ों पर गर्व करते रहें, जड़ों से जुड़े रहे। आप भी यहां ऑस्ट्रेलिया में भारतीय संस्कृति की खुशबू फैला रहे हैं। आप ऑस्ट्रेलिया में भारत के कल्चरल एम्बेसडर हैं, भारत के ब्रांड एम्बेसडर्स हैं। साथियों, मैं मेरी बात समाप्त करने से पहले आपसे कुछ मांगना चाहता हूं। देंगे? आवाज जरा धीमी हो गई। देंगे? पक्का? प्रॉमिस? मैं आपसे ये मांग रहा हूं और आपसे आग्रह करूंगा कि आप जब भी भारत आए, अपने साथ कोई न कोई ऑस्ट्रेलियाई मित्र और उनके परिवार को भी साथ लेकर के आए। इससे उन्हें भारत को समझने का, जानने का और ज्यादा बेहतर मौका मिलेगा। आप इतनी बड़ी तादाद में आए, लंबे अरसे के बाद आपको मिलने का मौका मिला। आप सब बहुत स्वस्थ रहिए, खुश रहिए, आनंद से रहिए। एक बार फिर से आप सभी का बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। मेरे साथ बोलिए, भारत माता की, भारत माता की, भारत माता की, भारत माता की। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
Prime Minister Narendra Modi just finishing his address. I have the Shadow Minister Jason Wood here. Minister, how was the address? What did you think?
Absolutely incredible. Like the reception Prime Minister Modi had here was like a rock star. It was like a sports event. And the excitement he brought to the Indian community here in Australia, we greatly appreciate. But gee, and his passion, speaking there for 40 minutes, and the crowd was buzzing. Boy, I was excited. Most of it was in Hindi, but the English bits, you really appreciated what he said.
He got the crowd going because he was outlining some facts. And one of the most important facts that he wanted to highlight is the digitization of the Indian economy. I want to understand from you, where do you think India and Australia can partner further? How can they engage as a country?
Well, that's a really good question. When you look at the mobile phonage use in the world, Australians overall use the most mobile phones per capita. And you look at the technology of the Indian community, and we're very lucky in Australia because we always know Indians are so good when it comes to IT, the entrepreneurs. And we really appreciate our 700,000 Australian Indians. And it's just obvious, we're both democracies. You've got PM Modi leading the largest democracy in the world, and Australians, as you know, very passionate when it comes to Australia.
The bilaterals, you get down to business come tomorrow. So let me ask you, what are going to be the core points? What are you going to watch for between the two nations as they engage?
Well, the most exciting thing is under the former Liberal government was the signing of the free trade agreement with India, and that's coming into effect. That's something we must work on, and the new government must focus on that, because as a former Liberal member of the government, as the Assistant Minister for Home Affairs, we just have to keep building those stronger ties, especially when it comes to security in our region.
Mr. Duttonia.
Good. How are you?
Thank you very much for your time.
Well, it's great to be here. Thank you.
It was good to hear a huge round of cheer even when the Prime Minister mentioned your name.
I could hear most things when he was speaking, but when everyone shouted out, it was very hard to hear. But it was an amazing event. The mood is electric. The beautiful community turned out and showed great respect. So I was really honoured to be here.
Let me ask you, the Prime Minister touched upon a few key issues. What did you think stood in? I know he was speaking largely in Hindi, but there were some key issues he spoke about. Where do you think India and Australia can engage further?
Well, I had the interpretation, so I heard most of the speech, and I thought it was an informed speech. I thought it showed he was connected with Australia. He understood where the opportunities were, education, environment, defence, security. There are many, many areas where we can continue to strengthen and deepen the relationship. This relationship has only just started, and we're on a ground floor, and we're going up in the lift at a fast rate. So the diaspora community here, the connections, the interconnectivity, the ability for direct flights, that is just going to bring our two worlds closer together. And there's no more trusted friend than Prime Minister Modi, and I'm just really pleased to be here. Thank you.
Are you sometimes surprised that he's got friends both sides of the alley?
He does, but I met with him in New Delhi about 18 months ago, and he was warm, engaging. He was very respectful, and he was very generous with his time. So it was great to meet him again tonight.
For me, it's amazing to see that, be it Liberal or Labour, there are some very clear aspects about where India-Australia relationships need to go. But let me ask you as LOP, what's the pressure point? What are you going to watch about what Prime Minister Albanese and his government are able to eke out of this conversation, this bilateral that's scheduled for tomorrow between India and Australia?
Well, I've got a bilateral meeting with Prime Minister Modi tomorrow, so we'll be having a discussion about a number of important topics for both of our sides. I think the Liberal Party, our values of hard work, of reward for effort, of family, all the values that Prime Minister Modi spoke about tonight, they're the values that we embody in our party, and that's why we have such a strong connection and respect for the Indian community, the diaspora community here, people of Indian heritage, the way in which they've integrated, that they've worked hard, that they've been successful. I think it makes all Australians very proud.
You know, he spoke about cricket, he spoke about tennis. It's time rugby comes to India too.
Well, I mean, we're looking in the NRL for an 18th team, so maybe it's an Indian team. Maybe not a PNG team, we'll see. But I think the cricketing links are sporting links, but it's the cultural links, and I think the celebration of Indian culture here in Australia, teaching of those young kids and the passing on from generation to generation. People call Australia home, but never lose your heritage, and I think that is a very special and important part that we should recognise as well.
Final question, Mr. Dutton. One aspect is security. That is Indo-Pacific security, two vibrant democracies needing to work together. The other one is security for the Indian diaspora with the recent instances that we've seen. In these matters, do you think there needs to be some action taken?
Well, I think there should be, and I think we should concentrate on the 99% of good cases, and we should absolutely condemn the 1% of bad cases. Nobody tolerates any sort of behaviour in our country that is intolerant or racist. We live in an accepting country, and we need to call out bad behaviour where we see it. Like any country, that's the reality, and I think the authorities come down very hard on that sort of behaviour. It's unacceptable culturally, and we're a nation that's successful because we've welcomed people from the four corners of the earth, and if we continue to embrace that, we'll be a wonderful country into the future.
And the larger question about Indo-Pacific and Australia and India becoming the guardians of this region?
Well, again, I think
security.
I think there are shared values, and it was a discussion we had when we were in government. My counterpart as Defence Minister at that point, as Home Affairs Minister, the intelligence that we share, the way in which we work together, that only continues to deepen, and the work that we did in reforming the Quad was important because it was respectful toward Prime Minister Modi's contribution, and credit to the Prime Minister that he's continued that work under his government as well. And I want people to understand that there's a bipartisan position in our country, and that's in our national interest, it's in the global interest, and I look forward very much to providing whatever assistance we can to strengthen and deepen that relationship further.
I've got Praveen here now. Let me quickly chat with Praveen. Thank you for your patience. How was all the effort was worth it?
All
you guys
the-
have put in all the effort.
Yeah, and I have with me Kuldeep here who's joining me, and I got.
Thank you.
Kuldeep.
And he made the mention of Guru Arjan Dev, and today is a very special day.
Absolutely. It is a very special day. It is the Shahidi Guru of Guru Arjan Dev Ji, and he remembering it itself is, you feel that you are so blessed to have a Prime Minister like this, who thinks about each and every culture, each and every person in the arena. He has thanked our, the Aboriginal people. He started with that. So there's nobody who is, as good as he is.
Do you know the fact that during emergency, Prime Minister actually lived his life as in a Gurdwara, lived his life as a Sardarji, as a practicing Sikh?
Absolutely.
So he's got immense, respect for Sikhi.
Very true.
And he wants it. He's actually a true champion for it. Yeah.
Anand, what I want to tell your viewers is Indians are united overseas. We are united for the development of India. We are united for a new India. We're going to do our part. We're going to do 200%. जो प्रधानमंत्री जी ने कहा, हम मित्र लेके भारत घूमने आएंगे.
मित्र लेके घूमने आना है, वही तो. That's what he said. कि you got
हर साल बिना भूले.
May I know your good name, sir?
Nitin Daniel Mukhi.
Oh, okay, hi Nitin. What do you think of the Prime Minister's conversation?
The Prime Minister had such amazing energy and such amazing vision and such amazing passion, and to see him in our great state be able to commit to such a strong relationship was just really heartwarming for all of us. Yeah.
No, he stressed upon mutual respect. You believe that needs to be addressed back here in Australia, because a lot of people have this concern, and I'm going to be very candid with you about the rising instances which are happening, targeting and deliberately. There were people who wanted to even derail the Prime Minister's visit. Is that a cause for concern?
Well, Australia and Australians respect and welcome a very deep partnership with India, and we want to send a message that says it is built on mutual respect. I myself, my parents are from Punjab. My parents came here in the 70s. We helped create so many of the very original Mandirs, newspapers here. It's such a long and deep and enduring partnership here, and it's being led by our peoples.
Very good. Thank you very much for speaking, and good to have you here. Good to see you here. Let me also meet Ravi is here with me, and let me get your name. Ravi, I met yesterday, and he was very helpful for us when we landed at Shangri-La. So and he was the one person who said at the dead of the night, if you want some food, I'm going to say it live on the channel. He said, I'll arrange it for you. So I'll always remember that. Thank you very much, Ravi. You're doing lots for the community here with the diaspora. Can you tell me who these people are, gentlemen? What's your name, sir?
Dr. Ishwar Madas
And what about
Rajshekar Anantoj.
I think this is all the Andhra group that is there. If I remember you?
My name is Sripal Reddy.
Mr. Sripal Reddy, hi.
My name is Vijay Simha Reddy.
Hi, Vijay Simha Reddy. So this.
Mr. Sai Paros.
This is. You have to meet him. To all our audiences, we are live right now. I know, but this is the group that's actually worked very hard behind the scenes. Sai was the one who's actually managed the entire media, and he's been tirelessly working here early in the morning. The one person who was there along with me today was Sai. So Sai, how did it all go? What did you think?
It's a fantastic turnout. We're really excited, so happy to see.
He's also the director of the Hindu Council here, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
So there's a lot of work they're doing. They're opening schools. They're doing. Do you have a Sanskritam school in Sydney? I didn't know that.
Yes, we have multiple schools of Sanskrit here.
Here.
We also do this food program called Karma Kitchen, which is feeding the homeless and needy.
Homeless and needy, and I think you guys did a lot of work during COVID, didn't you?
Absolutely, yes. We worked round the clock during COVID, both for international and national community here, both in terms of cooked food and also groceries.
So some good karma in the kitchen, but tell me, what do you think? What's your takeaway from the Prime Minister's message? Was it what you were expecting or better?
We can never have enough of Prime Minister's message. We wish it went for another 1 hour. We were really sad to see that it's finishing. When it starts saying.
Great talking to all of you. Thank you very much. I've got Rahul JT and I've got Reena JT here. So well, before we take a break, quickly, I'm just going to get. So the Mia Baby, now he's been part of the organizing team. She's a councillor here. So one is in politics, the other one is into organization. So what did you think of the Prime Minister's speech?
Amazing. As always, he has just mesmerized the whole crowd, and there was not even single person moving away from their chair. It was constant support and encouragement to us Indian diaspora.
He's been running around non-stop, so the feedback good? Was it packed to the rafters? Did everybody turn up?
Yeah, I think everybody turned up. They were, a beautiful atmosphere. We expected this to happen today, and I'm pretty sure that Prime Minister Modi was so happy. The facts and figures he gave to public to basically boost their morale and make them understand that India is going to be a developed country in the next 25 years. I think it's an eye-opener for us because sometimes away from sight, away from mind kind of thing, but now it's going to be just coming back. Yeah.
India is going to be a developed country in 25 years. Where does that take the diaspora? You can think about, don't think it in rupees, but think in dollars. But that's good for everybody.
We've got I think there's one chartered flight coming from Melbourne. There's also a bus coming down. Yeah, Modi Airways. There's Modi Express, which is a bus coming down from Brisbane. That's going to come in. It should arrive soon, yeah.
Right. Yeah, and a lot of people have already come in yesterday as well.
Great. And you coming from New Zealand too, right?
Yeah, coming in from New Zealand also.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Great. I'll let you get on with your jobs. I won't hold you. Let me go and see what's happening here. Come. Let's see. We are not going to intrude in your getting ready, but look at them. Lovely Odissi outfits and Bharatnatyam. So these are the performance. Ma'am, you're live on television. That's what it is. So you're all live. So why don't all of you come together? I see all of you dressed in different outfits.
Yeah.
So multicultural performance.
Yeah, it's multicultural performance. Everybody is from other different.
This is Bandhana Cultural School, Sydney, and myself.
आप लोग क्या करने वाले हैं?
Yeah, so myself, Dr. Tanima Banerjee, I'm the team leader, and we are presenting today Unity in Diversity, and they are from different states, so we are bringing the whole India over here.
India. Yeah. Okay. So let's see all.
All states you can see.
तो एक करके आप सबके लिबास मुझे बताइए. आपका तो
I'm presenting Gujarati.
Gujarati.
Yes.
Lovely outfit. आप क्या पहन रही हैं?
Uttar Pradesh, Kathak.
कथक करने वाली हैं आप. And उत्तर प्रदेश, lovely outfit.
मैं कश्मीर से हूँ. कश्मीर की गली.
I'm Kerala costume is this.
Mohiniyattam.
Yes, Mohiniyattam.
Mohiniyattam. Okay.
मैं पंजाब represent.
गिद्दा करने वाले हैं.
Yes.
क्या बात है? And what are you performing?
Yeah, I'm from Assam. Yes.
So you're going to do a little bit of the bihu.
Bihu dance.
Can I? What are you performing?
I'm also Gujarati.
Oh, Gujarati. I'm feeling a little shy. What about you, ma'am?
I'm from Tamil Nadu, doing Bharatnatyam.
I'm doing representing Odissi. That's right.
And what are you going to be doing?
So I'm taking the spiritual. So I'm taking whole people towards spirituality.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be here at this venue by 6 p.m. this evening. But you can see the kind of preparations that are underway. It was a grand welcome that was accorded for Prime Minister Narendra Modi after his very, very successful tour at the Asia-Oceania nations at Port Moresby in Papua New Guinea, and that warmth was perhaps extended when he touched down in Sydney and came from the airport and entered the hotel in Shangri-La Hotel, where he is currently lodged. He's going to have a series of business meetings this morning. There's a guard of honor that's also planned in that must have just gotten over a short while ago. But the focus is this gala reception. 22,000 people will be inside and nearly 7,000 to 10,000 people are expected to be outside. The activity, the buzz has already started, and I'll get you right into the heart of it. But first, the welcome for Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Never before has something like this been done for a nation's leader, and PM Narendra Modi has been able to allow these nations to tide over the disappointment of Joe Biden cancelling his visit to Papua New Guinea. The New Zealand Prime Minister goes there, and I think India has now steered the discourse and perhaps put the spotlight on those nations that were generally passed over. They were those flyover nations which happened, which were never considered as important in the Asia-Oceanic region. But India also now looks at itself as a leader of the global south. That's how exactly India has been wanting to position itself. But more importantly, they get vital support. India gets vital support for backing these nations, voicing the concerns of these nations at the multilateral and multinational platforms. Then it will also get its support at WTO. It will also get the support of these nations at the UN. And that will be significant in taking the cause of the global south and fighting for it. We saw this come to fruition at the previous WTO edition under the Union Minister Piyush Goyal, where across 5 or 6 various points, India was able to enforce and push through certain aspects in the paragraphs in the way it was worded, way it was written, aspects and concerns of nations like India and other developing nations as far as the water is concerned, use of the waters, maritime trade, maritime fishing, all of these aspects are concerned, even with rice, and of course beyond that, in terms of getting a vaccine waiver and a TRIPS waiver. So that aspects with TRIPS waiver in providing medicine to nations which need it, the concerns of smaller nations, this India has been doing quite well. Let me just quickly go and try and speak with the Indian diaspora, walk across and see if what their opinion is, what their point of view is, and let me quickly ask them. Hi, did you all guys get to meet the Prime Minister?
Yes. We are so happy. We are so happy.
You're very happy.
You know, his hand is so soft, and he was so nice to speak to, and you know, it's really great. We love him. We love him.
Yeah, really great.
Jai Modi.
What a tejas he is.
What a tejas.
He's a close India watcher, former chairman of the Deutsche Bank Australia and New Zealand. He's the chair of the AIBTF. But for me, he's been a trustee of the Sydney Cricket Ground, and that's why I was very keen to meet him. Maurice Newman, thank you so much for your time. Namaste.
My great pleasure. Namaste. Nice to be with you.
So let's start with the India-Australia outlook. You're somebody who's closely watching where India is going. So let me understand from you, on the cusp of the Prime Minister's visit to Australia, where do you see India from here?
Well, as you know, I'm very much biased towards India. I'm a great India enthusiast. I think India is going to be a superpower of the future. I think within the next 20 years, India will probably surpass China and become the second largest economy in the world. I think that when I look at attitudes towards India, it's opening up domestically. When I look at the infrastructure, it's building very, very significantly. And the relationship between India and Australia is growing. You Indians are the second largest migrant group in this country after the British. So that's a great people-to-people connection. But apart from that, I think that India is starting to register. We signed that comprehensive economic trade agreement last November. Long time in the making, too long in the making, but finally got there. The Australian understanding of India, I think, is still outdated. I think there is not a proper comprehension of contemporary India. Contemporary India, I mean, I've been going to India since probably the late 70s, early 80s. So I've seen some substantial changes.
Nearly 5 decades of transition is what you've seen. Yeah.
But the last decade, even a much more rapid transition. Very, very infrastructure build, people coming out of poverty, wonderful to behold. Young population, getting better educated, but also already well educated. I mean, for example, more Indians leave high school than their equivalent out of China, for example, so better educated. And I think starting to find its place in the world. I don't say that in any way condescendingly, but I think that India, for some considerable time in the past, has really not been making the sorts of strides that finally it has started to make.
If I may ask you, is there a change over the last 9 years? He completes 9 years on the 30th of May. Under him, 9 years, what has changed significantly in the approach India has taken vis-a-vis to the world, be it trade, geopolitics, however?
Yeah, I think philosophically there's been a change. I think there's been a recognition that market-based reforms would bring about faster progress, and I think that's starting to show the reward. I think that's been the fundamental change. I think that the demonetization, all of those things, has been moving, and also the embrace of technology. India's become much more open to the world than previously. And I think geopolitical changes too have put more focus on India, and that will be even more emphasized as the world pivots away from China.
One significant change which you think that Prime Minister Narendra Modi still needs to make as a policy?
He needs to reinforce contemporary India. The message that I think is around, or the perception that is around in this country, is 30 years old. They do not have, the average Australian does not have an appreciation of what is happening and what has happened in India. I think, I remember going from the Mumbai airport to the city, and there were people sleeping on the street side by side by side by side. You don't see that anymore. I mean, that to me is probably the most indelible impression. I think a lot of people in Australia still have that 40-year-old, 50-year-old view of what India is like. Anyone who's been to India will appreciate the modern cities, smart cities, all of the things that are taking place. And it's been extraordinarily rapid. So perhaps we can forgive Australians for a little bit of their ignorance. But I think Mr. Modi can reinforce that India is really on the move.
One thing which you believe India has got right in its foreign policy, and especially now its engagement trying to take on the leadership of the global south, one thing that you would like India to do going forward?
I'm not sure I would want India to do much more than it is currently doing, to be honest with you. I think the Quad is a great initiative. There are now countries that want to make that 5 or 6.
Yes, correct.
At the moment, I think we need to get the 4 settled down, particularly in the United States. I think it was most regrettable that Mr. Biden didn't come, and I think people in the Pacific will find that very regrettable as well. And I think we all of us, all 4 of us, will pay a price for that, which is unfortunate. But it is what it is. But look, I think India is doing the right thing. It is engaging, and most particularly it is growing. I mean, you're growing at 6.5% a year, fastest growing major economy in the world. Going to overtake Germany in a couple of years, Japan in another 3 or 4 years. So, you're doing pretty well.
Thank you, and on that positive note, and giving us the confidence that we're doing pretty well. Thank you, Maurice. A pleasure. Thank you for your time.
My pleasure too. Thank you.
Thank you. India is wanting to now become, for long known as a soft skills hub or a services hub. India is now wanting to improve the manufacturing dynamic. A lot of the business fraternity in Australia have turned around and said India needs to up its manufacturing. You are in the field of advanced manufacturing. A lot of the advanced manufacturing comes into play when we look at future energy, future tech, and also how businesses will have to ply their wares 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 30 years from now. So given the climate goals, given all of that, we're looking at a lot of manufacturing also to undergo a lot of change. What's your domain and where does India feature in this domain?
I would probably say in the next 5 years to 10 years, you will start to see a lot of maturity coming within these machines. The pricing starts to come down, and as it becomes more fluent, the uptake would automatically, and India is actually a right place because you don't have to do any transportation, for example. You know, you can have a corner store. So just think just how the photocopiers worked. Initially, you had a massive Xerox machines in India, and it used to take sometimes up to 10 minutes to produce one part. But now, even the corner store has got. So this 3D printing, at the moment it looks advanced, but in the next 5 to 10 years, it will become a household name.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi has spoken about that India also needs to become a research hub.
Yes.
Now, is there a big gap in India wanting to become a research hub? Is academia, the focus on research, even so much so that the Australian visa norms give you more points if you want to study research?
Yes.
I'm given to understand. But do you see that kind of trust in India?
Yes, absolutely. And in fact, Tatas have got quite a big setup. And there's another company down in Pune which also does aviation work and stuff like that. I don't remember their name, but they are like at the forefront of the technology. And there are also a lot of IITians who are actually now manufacturing 3D printers.
Okay.
Not as advanced as GE or Arcan, but still they're actually pushing it and they're going to Europe.
Is there a difference between how Australians approach business and want to enter into business and how Indians approach business and the nature, how they approach? Is there a bit of a mismatch there, a frequency mismatch?
There is a mismatch.
What is the frequency mismatch? Let me ask you.
The mismatch is both sides not understanding the other side's culture in business. We tend to go from Australia to India. We meet, have a meeting a couple of times, and we feel that we've got the right partner. But unfortunately, a lot of times that partner is not the right one and does not produce what has been agreed. So that leaves a bad flavor in the mouth. Indians coming here, it's a small market, 26 million, so it's not going to be competing with the Canadas and the US and the UKs, etc. But it is a very good niche market. If we can provide something that is needed by the common population.
Good evening, this is Brass Tax. I'm Zaka Jacob. There is now a full-blown political war between the BJP and the rest of the opposition on the inauguration of the new parliament building that will happen this Sunday. The TMC has officially become the first opposition party that will boycott the inauguration. There is serious thinking within some of the other opposition parties as well about a joint opposition boycott of the function that will happen Sunday. The question is, this is a new parliament building. It is for both the government and for the opposition. It is for elected representatives cutting across the political spectrum. This building may have been built during the Modi regime, but it is going to stand there long after Modi is gone. Why cannot the opposition join these celebrations? Because it has to be about the spirit of democracy. It has to be about the spirit of constructive opposition. Why oppose for opposition's sake?